This is going to be a fairly short video on the difference between fun and enjoyable. Because Overwatch isn't fun, but it's enjoyable. And I think there's a lot of other games out there that are like this. For example, one that I play, Counter-Strike, quite a bit. It isn't really a fun game, but for some reason it's extremely enjoyable. Because if you think about fun is a more surface level concept. It gives you kind of short-term rewards where you could imagine that it's really fun scoring goals in soccer or football or any other sport that has goals. Really, it's fun going to like an arcade and winning things. It's fun doing things that have kind of an immediate feedback to your life in the moment, where it doesn't really matter what long-term environments or what long-term effects there are in your environment. Fun is just kind of the thing that you're doing right then and there. For example, not everybody, but a lot of people, drink, a lot of people smoke, and it's because, that short-term thing that they're doing is fairly fun. But if you ask them in the long term, you ask somebody who drinks a reasonable bit, and you go, is it actually something that's an enjoyable aspect? Has it come out with a net positive? Unless they're fairly lucky in their life. These things generally are not enjoyable in the long term, or at least if you wait in the long term when you think about it. Sometimes there's a trade-off there. Of course, things do get complicated, but in the long term, the enjoyable things are actually fairly multi-dimensional. So what do we mean by that? Things that are enjoyable are weightlifting. That's one example that isn't fun in the moment, but it is enjoyable in the long term because of the results that you get. It's not really fun going to school and studying things, but the things that you end up making, the things that you end up doing with, can be fairly enjoyable. These are the things that you're going for. And games are the exact same. Now, Overwatch has some little fun concepts, and you could imagine, like, the loot boxes are one good example of something that's fairly fun. You could actually imagine something, too, like the SR system is something that can be fairly fun, but it does have its flaws. We could take a look at it a little bit later at some point in time. But I hear this all the time from people. They go, I don't know why I play X game anymore. Like, it's not fun to me. Other games are fun. Other cheaper games are fun. Other less complicated games are fun, or even more complicated games are fun. But it's not necessarily because those games are fun. And it's the thing that we're getting attracted to is the enjoyable long-term benefits of the game. Now, I've heard the phrase, I'm a gamer, and I define myself by achieving goals that were made to be achieved and overcoming obstacles that were made to be overcome. That is the definition of a fun game. That is a lot of the times the games that we try and play for. That's why games exist, or at least the game industry exists, is to make you feel like when you're going through the game of life, which isn't always that fun, that you can sit down for something fun for just a little, get a whole bunch of these rewards, which is great. But that's not what we're chasing. That's not what we're looking for. Games can no longer be fun, but can still be enjoyable if they're spiritually satisfying. And what do I mean by spiritually satisfying? I mean by something that makes you feel like you've improved your understanding of things, something that has confronted you in your view of the reality. So let's say you're jumping into a game and you get absolutely destroyed. You think that you're doing fairly well, but you're getting destroyed and you don't know why. Right? Why do you keep coming back to that? Well, it's because it's actually enjoyable. It satisfies this kind of urge that we have for a little bit of struggle in our lives and a little bit of improvement, because if we didn't struggle and we didn't improve, we would be absolutely nowhere. And when you're up against other real players and there's no fun rewards, well, you only have a system that can be enjoyable anymore. And really, when you play a game for too long and it no longer becomes fun or enjoyable, that's usually when people put it down. They don't even realize why they put it down. So, yeah, that's a little bit of my ramble. I think I could go into a lot more in terms of examples, but these are the core concepts. And I think if you just take a look at any single game that you play, any one game that you play, and identify it as, is this something I'm doing because it's really, really fun, or is this something that I do because it's enjoyable? And I think this is maybe actually an English language thing where there's no separation between something that feels good in the long term or feels like you're doing something in the long term versus something that is a very trivial sense of fun. So, anyways, thank you for listening, guys. I'm out. And my screen just went off, so I have to log myself back in. And I'll stop the recording. I'm not gonna cut this off. It's going up as is.